Hi everyone, hope you're having a great day today and maybe reading a couple of good books or getting some math done today. I wanted to just come to you and do a quick lesson today on math. Again, we're going to be reviewing a little bit about plane shapes and how plane shapes connect to solid shapes. So I went to our classroom a long time ago when I was allowed to go in, and I picked up some solid shapes that we have in the class. So I wanted to kind of show you some of those and talk about what two-dimensional shapes we see and how they make up three-dimensional shapes. So the first thing that I wanted to do is review a little bit from yesterday. So let's go ahead. If you remember what these terms mean, or I hope you remember what these terms mean, you can go ahead and say them with me. So the first one is try. And remember, try in math means three. So a three-sided shape, a shape with three sides and a shape with three angles. And we know that that would be a triangle. Remember, three sides, 1, 2, 3, and then three angles, 1, 2, 3. Okay, another shape or another math word that we talked about last time was the word quad. And quad means four. And remember, those are shapes that have four sides and four angles. So last time we talked about a square, right? A square has four sides, 1, 2, 3, 4, and four angles, 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? Well, we also talked about how there's a lot of shapes that are considered quadrilaterals because there's many shapes besides a square that has four sides and four angles. For example, a rectangle also has four sides and four angles. And a new one that you might not have remembered is a trapezoid. Remember, a trapezoid also has four sides and four angles. And then, of course, a parallelogram has four sides and four angles. Okay? The next one that we talked about was penta, and that means 5 for a pentagram. And I don't have a picture of a pentagram or a shape, so I'm just going to draw one. It's kind of like a house shape, right? So we've got our five sides, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we've also got our four angles, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and then hex. I hope you remember the trick that I showed you to remember what hex means. Remember, X is the third letter, just like in the word 6. X is the third letter. So we know hexagon means 6, and we have a shape that has 6 sides and 6 angles, right? So we use all of these shapes every day. We see them all over the place in your house and when we're outside and in nature. And these shapes also fit onto three-dimensional shapes, right? So three-dimensional shapes have a length, a width, and a height. And so we're going to talk today about how our two-dimensional shapes go together to make our three-dimensional shapes. So first of all, let's go ahead and just review what our three-dimensional shapes are. Okay, so the first one I have here looks like this. We've got a circle on the bottom and a circle on the top. You might know what this is called. I hope you do. This is called a cylinder. Okay, and the next one that I have here has some triangles on each side. 4 triangles, 1, 2, 3, and then of course one in the back, 4, and a square on the bottom, and we would call this a pyramid. Okay, the next three-dimensional shape has a circle on the bottom and a point on the top, and we would call this a cone. One way to remember is if you turn it this way, it's kind of like an ice cream cone. Okay, the next three-dimensional shape is this one, and it's a square all the way around and on the top and on the bottom. And we would call this one a cube. Okay, and the next three-dimensional shape has rectangles on all 4 sides And it might have a square on each end, or it might also have another rectangle on the ends. And we would call this a rectangular prism. Okay, so I want to talk with you a little bit today about how our solid shapes actually have two-dimensional shapes on them. So, for example, our cylinder, I hope you noticed, it has a two-dimensional shape right here, right? It has the circle, right? And on the other side, it has a circle. It's made up of two circles, right? And I hope that you noticed our pyramid is made up of a bunch of triangles on each side, right? And then also a square on the bottom, right? And our cube is made up of just all squares. A square on the top, a square on each side, and a square on the bottom. Right? And then our rectangular prism, of course, is made up of rectangles, right? Has a rectangle on each side. And this one happens to have a square on each end. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about these kinds of shapes that we see in everyday life and how we can pick up on the two-dimensional shape and how that makes the three-dimensional shape. Okay, so the first one, let's talk about the rectangular prism. So right here, I have a box of tea, and this is a rectangular prism. There's a rectangle on the top, a rectangle on the front, a rectangle on the bottom, and then also if I turn it around, there's a rectangle shape on the back. And on each end of my box, it has a rectangle. Right, so if I was going to count them, I would count 1, 2, 3, and then the one in the back, 4, 5, 6. It has 6 faces, right? And 4 of those are rectangles. Well, and I think the ends here are rectangles as well. Okay, let's look at another type of rectangular prism. This box. Now notice this one's a little skinnier than my tea box, right? And it's a little bit wider too than my tea box, but it still is a rectangular prism. So I hope you can see the rectangle here, right? And the rectangle here, and the rectangle on each side. Okay? And I have a little thing of toothpaste as well to show a rectangular prism. So if I was going to do this, I would see that there is one rectangle here, right? Oopsie. Oh, I guess that's not going to stick. I was hoping that glue would stick. Another rectangle here, another rectangle here, right? And another one here. So this box is actually made up of 4 rectangles, right? It took 4 rectangles to make this one three-dimensional shape. Okay, so let's look at the cube. Now a cube is where all the faces are exactly the same size. So here's a little box, and notice every side is exactly the same size. The bottom and the top and all the sides are exactly the same. It's a perfect square. Here's a little sticky note cube that I use to keep my sticky notes in. Notice this also is a cube. Every side is a square, and each side is exactly the same size. Okay, and this one here, this is an autographed baseball, and it is in a cube as well. Every side is a square, and each side is the exact same size. Okay, let's look at a cylinder. So I have a few things here that are cylinders. Right here, my shoe polish is made up of a cylinder shape. Now it's a skinny one, but it is still a cylinder. Notice the cylinder is made up of a circle on the top and a circle on the bottom. Now this part of the cylinder is actually a rectangle. And you might not see that right away, but I will show you. Here we go. Look at my rectangle. And if I were to put this all the way around my cylinder, right? Now, do you see how that's a rectangle? So a cylinder is made up of 1 rectangle and 2 circles, right? Okay, let's go ahead and look at our cone. Oh, whoops, I'm sorry. I have a few more cylinders. A marker is a cylinder shape, right? It's long, skinnier, and it's got a circle on the bottom and a circle on the top. And my oatmeal container is also a cylinder, right? Here's the circle from my oatmeal lid. Here's the circle on the bottom, right? And if I were to cut this off and open it up, I would get my rectangle shape. Okay, let's go ahead now and look at a cone. So a little carrot is a cone shape, right? Can you see how this would be a circle on the bottom, right? And then it comes up to a point on the top, right? This little umbrella is a cone shape. I hope you can see that. We could make it a skinny cone or a wider cone, right? Can you see the circle of the umbrella at the bottom? And then my sparkling apple cider glass is also a cone shape. You can see the circle. You can see how it comes up on the top of the glass. It's skinnier on the top to make a cone. Now, a cone is actually made out of a half circle. So I'm going to show you. Here is my half circle. And if I fold it around, you can see now I have a cone. And look on the inside. You can see right here, there is my circle shape, right? That makes the bottom part of my cone. So a cone is made from a half circle and a circle. Okay, let's go ahead and look at the last one, which is a sphere, right? Well, our globe, our Earth, is a sphere, right? It's a complete circle. Notice no sides, no faces, no edges, no angles, right? It's just completely circular, right? There's lots of things that are spheres. Your head is a sphere, right? This pool table ball is a sphere, and this orange is a sphere. Now, a sphere is actually made up of a circle, and I'm going to cut this orange in half here to show you how a sphere is made into a circle, or how a sphere is made up of a circle. So I'm going to cut it in half, and you probably already know this, but when I cut it in half, there, of course, is my circle or my plane shape. Okay, so solid shapes or three-dimensional shapes are made up of plane shapes or two-dimensional shapes, right? So it's important that we see the relationship on how those go together. All right, so when you're looking around your house or when you're making something or doing an art project or you're outside walking around and noticing things in nature, try to see if you can find maybe a cylinder like a tree trunk. Try to see if you can maybe find a sphere, maybe something like an acorn, right? See if you can find some things around your house, maybe a can of tuna. What shape would that be, right? So think about some things that might be a sphere, a cone, a pyramid, a rectangular prism, and a cube. All right, so that is our lesson today on how two-dimensional shapes are connected to three-dimensional shapes. All right, so have a great rest of your day, and I look forward to seeing you all soon. Bye.